Hello everyone, we are at the Global Scrum Gathering in Lisbon. We are the Comparative Agility and we are the goal sponsors of the event. We have with us Nino Zeljko. He is going to be our next speaker. Nino is an Agile coach with 10 years of experience as a software development in roles such as design, deployment, testing and optimization. Nino, welcome. How are you? How did you like the conference?
Yeah, I think it's great. Thank you for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be here. So I'm enjoying myself. So I'm staying until tomorrow. So it's coming to an end. A little bit sad about that.
So, Nino, currently we all know the situation in the world. A lot of things escalating unpredictably. And of course, it took toll on many companies, like small, big, new and old. And I have a feeling that companies today are focusing, of course, on how to protect their revenue streams, how to be profitable, how to survive the crisis. And they're really, really focusing on that. And I understand they must, of course. But how important do you think it is now to also focus on continuous improvement? What would be your advice there?
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I feel it's very important, right? So, and this was my topic at my session yesterday here at the gathering. So, my view on this is that now organizations always had a need to change and always will, right?
Of course.
And of course, the purpose of that is to keep up with ever-changing circumstances in the environment in which they operate, if they want to succeed and survive, right? So I truly, and this is even more important today, right? In this fast-paced world of ours. So I truly believe that continuous improvement should not be something that we do. It should be something we are. It should be in our DNA, right?
Yes.
So I truly believe that organizations really need to master this process and learn how to change and grow internal capabilities. And the other thing I feel is really important is the culture. So we need to focus on the culture because, in order to get to some results, we need people, right?
Of course, because anything done in a company is done by people.
Yeah.
And in your opinion, how can we ensure effectiveness of agile practices for the remote teams, for people that are not working even in the same time zones, in the same room?
Yeah. Well, that's really a challenge, right? However, everything has its strengths and weaknesses. And especially when we talk about teams and teamwork, us humans, we need to build trust, build relationships, and really we do that in a physical space. So that's kind of a constraint, right?
Yes.
So I'm a fan of, first I would have a conversation if we can remove that constraint. But sometimes you can't, right? It's out of your reach. But what can we do in that kind of situation to get the most value? So, I think that today there are many great online collaboration tools and video conferencing and such. So that. Yeah, and that's really great. I mean, when the pandemic started, I also needed to shift, right? So, and I'm a huge fan of physical, but I must say, after a few years, I really grew appreciation of those online tools. They enable you to do things you couldn't do before. So it's all about, finding the best solutions to draw the most value in every situation.
And probably the hybrid option is the best one because people are still not ready to give up that remote work from home. They still don't want to fully go to the office, but there are some disadvantages of just working from home.
Yeah.
Motivation, feeling connected. So if you could have both options, that's kind of...
Yeah, I agree. I look everything, in terms of tools. So they have some, they are good for something and not really good for something else. So it's not about the tools, it's about what we are trying to achieve, right? So mixing both of those worlds in some context that makes sense is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just one more thing that has to become agile.
Yeah, yeah.
But about becoming agile, when organizations decide that they will adopt an agile mindset, at the beginning, like at any beginning, they don't really know what to do unless you're mature in agility. You don't really know what to do. But they're faced with many options now. So many methodologies out there, so many ways they can do that. So, what is your advice for companies for just adopting that mindset? How should they choose the tools and methodologies for themselves?
Yeah. So, I work with clients mostly who are new to Agile, right? So I get that a lot, and I do understand that it's confusing for people and so on. But again, I view those as tools that help us reach a certain goal.
Yes.
So in that sense, I think it's more important to focus on the mindset, the culture, the values, principles, and tools are secondary.
Yes.
So, and they should really enable us to reach our goal. And first, we need to understand what are we trying to do, and from that conversation, decide. Okay, we can try with this. So, what I like to do is I like to start with Scrum, because I think Scrum is a great framework to show you your problems and constraints in the organization. And then we'll see, right? We can stick with Scrum and have problems and so on and work on those. But sometimes maybe it's hard for some organizations really to change things.
So, have you heard of or used Agile Coaching personal improvement?
Yes, I have seen that, and I think again, as the same as assessments for organization, a system.
Yes.
Here you are the system, right? And you need again an assessment, and you have your own goals. And how can you know where what your options are? What might bring you closer to your goal without an assessment?
So we have one interesting question for the end. What is one thing that you know now that you wish you knew when you were just starting your career?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question. I don't know. It depends how I understand what is the purpose of the question. I wouldn't change anything, to go back and change something. However, there is a difference between knowing something and experiencing something, right? A big difference. So maybe I would say, working with people is much harder than working with computers.
Of course.
So I don't want to say that software development is easy. It's not. But how I see it is, during my 10 years as a software developer, when I work on something and I have a problem, I have like total control over it. If I don't know something, I learn about it. However, working with people, you don't have 100% of control. So that's really challenging and sometimes frustrating.
Sometimes rewarding.
Yeah, especially rewarding. I mean, from my point of view, it's of course much more rewarding working with people, seeing the change, helping them, than working with computers, right? So yeah, maybe that would be my answer to that.
Perfect. Thank you, Nino. Thank you for being our guest at the podcast, and I hope you have a great time at the rest of the conference.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a real pleasure.